let me introduce you to the Summer Series.
You're a voice actor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a VOPRENEUR. Welcome to the Everyday VOPRENEUR podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover.
Showcase your demos on your website with a player that producers and voice seekers love, that can easily integrate with your email signature and even offers an option for analytics so you can see who's listening. The Everyday VOPRENEUR Summer Series is proud to offer an exclusive deal with VoiceZam. Get 3 months of the base player for the price of 1. See complete offer details and sign up at voicezam.com/Mark Scott. That's voicezam.com/Mark Scott for full details and to sign up.
The VOPRENEUR podcast. Hey, it doesn't suck.
Not as funny as Conan. Not as cute as Seth Meyers. Not as smart as Colbert. But he's one of us, and that counts for something. Here's Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOPRENEUR.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Everyday VOPreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover. I'm Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOPreneur, and in this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a new series that I'm going to be starting called the Summer Series, and I'm going to explain a little bit about why the Summer Series is happening. But before we do that, I want to remind you that you can listen to any episode of the podcast by jumping onto the website at VOPRENEUR.com. While you're there, make sure that you click on the shop button. This is going to give you an opportunity to pick up some VOPreneur and voiceover swag that helps support the podcast, but also helps spread the good news of voiceover. Wear a VOPreneur t-shirt out in public, have somebody ask you what it means, and have an opportunity to maybe pick up a new lead out of the deal. You can do that by going to VOPRENEUR.com and clicking on the shop button. So let's talk about the Summer Series. You know, when I made the decision to do the podcast, there was a lot of peer pressure involved. And I say that only half jokingly. The fact of the matter is, a podcast is something that I had thought about doing for a really long time. I had spent years writing a blog, and I was kind of just done with blogging. I needed a different outlet. And so I had thought about the podcast as potentially becoming a different outlet. And at the same time that I was thinking that, I was getting tons of requests from voice actors, just like you, asking me to do a podcast. I've got some things to say. I bring a unique perspective. I don't cover all the same stuff that every other voiceover podcast covers, and that's intentional. I know my niche. I know my lane in business and marketing. And so with a little bit of peer pressure, but also with this desire to just move in a different direction from blogging, I decided to launch a podcast. What I did not anticipate was how hard that was going to be. What I did not anticipate was how much work is actually involved in creating a new podcast every single week, and how time-consuming that can be, and sometimes, to be completely honest, how draining that can be. Coming up with a topic and fleshing that out and being able to sit down for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes and discussing. And because I always want every episode to be so high value, I pour everything I have into it. And it really was starting to take a lot out of me. And so for the last few weeks, I've been really struggling to come up with episode ideas. And part of the reason why I've been struggling to come up with episode ideas is with everything that is going on in the world right now, with COVID and with all of these different things happening politically and on a societal level. Man, I was just feeling burnout. That's the truth. I was just feeling burnout, but I was also feeling a weight. I also felt like because of this platform that I have built and because of how seriously I take this coaching platform that I have an obligation to the industry to be there every week, being a voice and having good things to say and being an encouragement and being a support. And I take that very seriously. And I found myself just carrying a lot of the weight of that, which was just only adding to the feelings that I was having of exhaustion. And so in trying to figure out what the solution was, I spent some time just letting myself think quietly. And I knew that I didn't want to stop doing the podcast, but I also knew that I just didn't have it in me to sustain something quite so involved and intense right now. And so that was where I came up with the idea for the Summer Series. So what we are going to have with the Everyday VOPreneur podcast for the next number of weeks through the summer are quick hit episodes that are going to focus on one particular subject, one particular thought, one particular idea, and hopefully give you one specific action item or takeaway. They're not going to be big, long episodes. They're not going to be 30-minute episodes or 40-minute episodes. They might be 5-minute episodes, but I want them to be a really high-value 5-minute episode that just focuses on one concept. And so I think that there's a couple advantages to this. First and foremost, it gives me the little bit of the break that I need, takes a little bit of the pressure off without having to stop doing the podcast, because I don't want to stop doing the podcast. But it's also going to give you something real quick that you can just digest easily while you're out for a walk, or, while you're riding your bike, or you're driving to the grocery store, whatever the case may be. So that's the idea behind the summer series. And I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you understand why we're moving in this direction, and know that when I get out on the other side of this, everything is going to go back. I am still thrilled to be doing this podcast. I love doing it. I get excited about doing it. This is just going to help me to take a little bit of the pressure off. Now that we have introduced the idea of the summer series, I want to start with the first topic, which is burnout, because I think that it's really, really appropriate right now. We have been living in some state of lockdown for 3 months now, depending on where you are and what the rules are in your country, your city, your state, etc. And we've been dealing with this pandemic, and we've seen how it affects our business. We've seen how it affects our ability to socialize. For those of us that are introverts, like, I'm an introvert. In the beginning, it wasn't so bad. It just felt like, a normal day. But after a while, it even really started to affect me. So for somebody who is an extrovert, I can't even imagine what you're going through right now. Not being able to get with your tribe, not being able to spend time with people. It's got to be so hard. And as somebody who has had a couple of different seasons of burnout in his life in the past, and in my radio career and in my television career, I was starting to recognize it in me. So we're talking about exhaustion. Are you always feeling tired? You just don't even want to get out of bed. We're talking about lack of motivation. You know what you have to do, but you just don't have the drive to do it. Frustration or other negative emotions. Are you feeling that right now? I think every single one of us on a daily basis are trying to combat against frustration and negative emotions. Have you stopped taking care of yourself? Everybody jokes about the quarantine 15, right? We all sat around and we've been binge watching Netflix and eating too many potato chips, and we've put on the quarantine 15, and we like to joke about it, but really it probably bothers us. I know it bothers me, and I haven't put on 15, thankfully, but I definitely have drank way too much Dr. Pepper lately. So not taking care of yourself. What about lack of creative drive? Do you have a hard time getting into the booth right now and just buying into the scripts, buying into the auditions? Are you having a hard time coming up with ideas for what to post on social media? Do you write a blog and you're struggling? Do you do a podcast and you're struggling? Do you use creative outlets in some other way? Maybe you're an on-camera actor and you haven't been able to do it since this all started. Or, maybe you're a ballroom dancer and you haven't been able to do it. Whatever your outlet is for creativity, not having that outlet can lead to a lack of creative drive. Distraction? Anybody? Anybody else guilty of trying to do 1,000 different things other than the one thing that you know you're supposed to be doing because you're distracted? I have been feeling all of these things right now. And that is part of what brought on the desire for the summer series. So here's a couple of things that I want you to think about. If you are feeling any of those emotions, any of those feelings right now, and experiencing burnout, there are a couple of things I want you to do. First of all, I want you to accept it. It's okay to say it. And that was the hardest part for me because, again, because I feel like a leader in the industry and because I built this platform, I feel like I've always got to be game on for you guys. And I want to always be game on for you guys. And I carry that weight. But you know what? Sometimes the best thing a leader can do is just admit that they're having a struggle too. And so I admit that I've been feeling some burnout. It's been COVID and the way that it's affected my family and the way that it's affected my business and the way that it's affected my life in general. And it's been burning me out. So accepting and admitting it is really, really important. Unplugging is the next step. Don't be afraid to just turn the computer off for a day. Don't be afraid to put the do not disturb on the phone and just walk away for a day. Take a day off Facebook. Take a day off Twitter. Take a day off email. Set an autoresponder. If your clients are trying to get a hold of you, the autoresponder can give them a different number to call or something, or let them know that you're out of the office for a day, but it's okay to unplug. Get some more sleep. This is one that I've been doing. You know, I've never been a morning person, but I'll tell you what, in the last couple of weeks, I've been sleeping in until 10 o'clock in the morning a lot of days and not feeling guilty about it. Because the other thing that you have to do is you got to give yourself permission to relax. For somebody like me with the personality that I have, when I start to see the burnout happening initially, my immediate instinct is to push through it. Try harder, fight back, not give in, change my mindset, change my state, and try to force through it. But you know what? That never works. And so sometimes you just got to give yourself permission to take a day off. Sometimes you just got to give yourself permission to take a week off. Sometimes you just got to give yourself permission to change the format of your podcast to give you a little break so that you can focus on some other things that are really important too. And that is completely okay. So if you've been experiencing any kind of burnout because of everything that is going on right now, accept it and admit it, unplug, get some more sleep, give yourself permission to relax, give yourself permission to take some time off, give yourself permission to pivot, to move in a different direction. Guys, I really hope that you enjoy the summer series, and I want to throw this out there as well. If there's something that you would like to hear me talk about in the Summer Series podcast, if there's something that you'd like me to address specifically, something that can be done in a quick 5-minute episode, what is your take on this? What is your opinion of this? How do you approach this? Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Send an email to mark@markscottvoiceover.com. Put the subject line as Summer Series. I would be open to any suggestions that you have. I've already got some ideas that I'm working on, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the content that you need to give you the value that you're looking for and to give you the value that you deserve in this podcast. And in the meantime, all the old episodes are still going to be there. There's over 60 of them online at VOPRENEUR.com, so make sure you jump on the website, give it a listen, VOPRENEUR.com. Guys, thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.
The Everyday VOpreneur Podcast. Available everywhere fine podcasts are given away for free. Mostly, we think.
Showcase your demos on your website with a player that producers and voice seekers love, that can easily integrate with your email signature and even offers an option for analytics so you can see who's listening. The Everyday VOpreneur Summer Series is proud to offer an exclusive deal with VoiceZam. Get 3 months of the base player for the price of one. See complete offer details and sign up at voicezam.com/MarkScott. That's voicezam.com/MarkScott for full details and to sign up.
Hold for tech.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging out. Want more VOpreneur goodness? Jump online at VOpreneur.com.